Jonathan Flesher, who's flown out here from Betable, backers like Peter Thiel, the founder of PayPal, actually probably one of the most impressive lists of investors of any company in the space, and they are the solution for game companies looking to add gambling. Excited to hear what you got to say.
Great, thank you, Brock. Hi, my name is Jonathan Flesher, and I head up business development for a company called Betable. We're a UK-based company, but nearly all of our development takes place in San Francisco, California. I started my career in gaming back at Electronic Arts, where I headed up online business development for 3 years, and then after Electronic Arts, I joined Zynga and headed up business development there for about 3.5 years. The first and last thing I did at Zynga was look at gambling from a developer's perspective. So Zynga, as you know, has one of the largest poker games in the world, and for many years, a number of the casinos and online gambling companies were very interested in partnering with Zynga to get access to the traffic. So the last deal that I did was the bwin Party partnership between Zynga and bwin Party in the UK. So as background to this, why is gambling interesting to a developer? We know that virtual currency is a big industry. I mean, it's, a couple $1 billion a year, and it's getting bigger. Mobile is growing at a phenomenal pace. But to put things in perspective, the gambling industry is massive. It is close to $400 billion a year, and that's the tracked numbers. And obviously, there's a number of operators on the fringes that make that number likely much larger. But that $400 billion industry is moving online in a very rapid pace. Right now, it's approximately 32 billion online. That does not include mobile, which is starting to become a big focus for a number of the online gambling operators. They are taking a real interest in the, call it the social virtual goods space. You see big players like Caesars, IGT, bwin Party, Aristocrat. They're making acquisitions. They're building out huge teams such as Win Interactive, which is approximately 300 people. And they're doing partnerships with social gaming companies like Zynga. Why are they doing this? They are doing it for two main reasons. One is incremental revenues. Obviously, it's a complementary revenue streams to their existing gambling revenues. But more importantly, for the virtual goods world, the audiences are much larger than what they have. It's orders of magnitude larger. At its peak, Zynga was running over 300 million monthly active players, a staggering number for Western markets, and something that all of the gambling companies are very interested in gaining access to. So what does this mean? This means that there is going to be a convergence of virtual and real money gaming. You already see this. Facebook has gone live with 888 in the UK, as well as GameSys, and Plum B Sporting Bet, which I believe is now Plum B Unibet. Those numbers are big, and those are complementary revenue streams. You know the numbers for the virtual goods side. You're talking about a monthly average revenue per user of approximately $40. I mean, that some can be higher, some can be lower. Depends on the country that you're in. But your gambling revenues are much higher. You're talking about 2 to 3, sometimes 5 times larger on a per payer basis. That leads to a much larger lifetime value for the customer. You're talking in a virtual goods game, you might have 500 plus for a lifetime value of a customer. That same gambling customer can be upwards of $1,800. What does that mean in terms of conversion rates? The virtual currency conversion rates on a daily basis, so I want to make that clear that this is a conversion number on a daily basis, not on a monthly or a lifetime level, but on a daily basis is approximately 1.5%. What does that mean in the gambling industry in terms of converting that virtual currency audience into payers? It remains to be seen. What we've seen on our platform is actually supported by these numbers. We see conversion rates that are the same or better than virtual currency free-to-play to payers. We see monetization rates that are anywhere from 2 to 5 times what you would make on an apples-to-apples basis on a per payer. The most exciting part of this is that over 80% of the payers are new payers. So it makes sense if you think about it philosophically. A person who buys virtual currency typically doesn't gamble if they're in a legal jurisdiction where gambling is allowed. And gamblers, while they may play virtual currency games for free, aren't going to buy virtual currency because they don't have any chance of getting money out. So it is a very complementary revenue stream. You can essentially double, triple, quadruple the revenues in jurisdictions where gambling is legal. What does that mean for the ecosystem? So what's going to go from a nice-to-have complementary revenue stream is going to go to a must-have very quickly in order for you to compete. You've already seen this in the UK where acquisition costs are rising far above the cost of acquiring users that makes sense for a virtual currency-only revenue stream. When you're bringing in gambling revenues that are multiples of virtual currency, those gambling companies are able to bid up the cost of users above the marginal cost of that virtual currency user. So again, that means you will no longer be able to buy traffic at a cost-effective ROI purchase. What are your options as a developer? They're actually very limited. Again, I spent 3.5 years looking at this from a developer's perspective. First and most obvious is you can license your IP. So take a big IP like a Farmville. You can actually go out to a number of companies and license that IP for them to make games and distribute through the gambling world, both online and in physical sense. You typically would get on order of 5, 10, 15% in net revenues as a royalty stream. However, that's not the whole picture. That distribution occurs through multiple operators. It might be through a distributor like OpenBet. It might be through any number of distributors to get to the ultimate operator. So what you're going to be getting is a slice of a slice of a slice. So your ultimate revenue slice is probably at best going to be 1 to 2%, if that. And this is only available for the very biggest IP. And that's, as you know, challenging to get lucky and have one of those monster hits. You can do traffic affiliate business, which is essentially an ad deal. You can advertise online gambling games in your games to your gaming audience, and that can be a good business. The challenge with that is you are actually sending your users off to another website, and you're not doing what you do, which is make games. The one that you probably hear the most about is the B2B white label business. This is where someone will create a suite of games that are certified for real money gambling, and they will operate them for you. Effectively, this is another advertising deal. The only difference being that they're putting your brand around it. This is a typical setup for large media companies that want to have a gambling presence. The challenge, again, is that it is effectively an ad deal, and you're sending your traffic away from your game. The final and best way to actually participate traditionally was to go out and get your own license. And that process is much longer and more expensive than you actually think. It's not simply a matter of going to get a license in a jurisdiction like Alderney, Gibraltar, Isle of Man, or the UK. That's just the first step. Then you have to go through the banking regulations, which is a whole nother regulatory process, and you have to go get certified content to light up. It costs millions of dollars. In best case, you're looking at 18 months to 24 months to launch. That's the genesis of Betable. What Betable does for you is it essentially takes all those challenging pieces and puts it into an API package so that you can incorporate gambling into your games. The cost of this is free. There are no upfront fees. The time for our developers roughly takes them about anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour to configure their custom math model on our platform. One of our developers, Big Fish, who you know well and is at this conference, it actually took them 48 hours to go live. So it's a very, very fast time process. To compare this with what the online gambling companies are doing in mobile, this is where you guys have a real opportunity. They're in their infancy. They are taking what they have done in the traditional online portal world and they're bringing it to mobile. As you can see here, there are 2 very big online gambling operators who are using the exact same content that they have gotten from other companies. This is not what you guys do. You guys make great games, you make differentiated content, and this is where you guys will win versus the traditional online gambling companies. This works in the physical casino world where, you know, the Sands, the MGM, Caesars, they can all get the same slot machines and put them in their casinos because they're not competing on those machines. They're actually competing on other things. They're competing on the resort, they're competing on the restaurants, their clubs, the amenities, all that kind of stuff. You don't have that online. And so what you end up competing on is margin and marketing expense, which is not a great position to be in. What you guys can do is compete on content. The way to do this is obviously through Betable. Betable is the only platform in the world right now that allows any developer to legally and quickly offer real money gambling in your applications. To give you a little diagram of what we do, we actually host the code, the certified gambling math, on our servers in the UK. We provide player identification, KYC, which means know your customer. So we do age verification, geolocation, fraud prevention, all those types of things that all the other online gambling companies do, and we do it very well using some of the most sophisticated tools in the industry. We do all the bet resolution. So when someone actually presses, I want to bet, we actually run the math. We put the debits and credits in the account, and we will pay out the users when they want to withdraw their money. Those results are sent back through the API for the results to be displayed in the game. The best way to understand this is to actually look at one of our integrations. And again, I pull up Big Fish Casino. There's actually screenshots from the application that they have live in the United Kingdom in the Apple iOS store. What they've done is they've actually created a hybrid application, and that includes both virtual currency and real money in the same application. So as you can see here, there's an area where you can click on for playing real money. That brings you into the flow if you're a first-time user, where you would sign up for a Betable account. This is a mobile optimized flow, which does things such as, again, checking your age, your geolocation, checking to make sure that you're not a known money launderer, you're not a terrorist, all those good KYC things, and takes you into a deposit flow where you would fund your wallet. We're one of the few online gambling companies that have PayPal as one of our payment processor. That's a challenging one to get, and we were able to secure that. And we also provide all the other standard online gambling payment methods such as Skrill and NetTeller and bank transfers. Once you fund your wallet, you're then taken into an allow screen. This is where the user will allow the application to have access to the Betable wallet and the customized math, and then you're jumped back into your game. This is the game that Big Fish controls. This is their game, their UI, their customer is staying within the application and is not being sent out to a third party. So this is actually incorporating real money into their game. As you can see from the red circle down below, there's an API for the customer's real money account balance. There's links into their account to see their past transactions, allow for redeposits, access customer service, and all the other things that you would expect out of a gambling operator. As you can see there, this is it. It's that easy and that simple. So are there any questions for the audience?
Name, company, and question, please.
Hi, Jose Bertons from Product Madness. One of the questions that I had was related to the actual math models that you quickly mentioned. Mm-hmm. What's the reaction being of players that are accustomed to a specific math model that was designed by the developer when they get shifted over to a real money wagering math model that probably is substantially different from the one that they're accustomed to?
So there is the difference between what I would call a hybrid application and a hybrid game within an application. A hybrid game within an application would have virtual currency and real money within that same game. If you're within a hybrid application, you're having different virtual currency games and real money games. So there isn't a switch in math models that would be different for the user. In the hybrid game, we do as best as possible to replicate the actual math on our model. And we do allow our users, our partners, developer partners, to utilize our backend for virtual currency as well, if they would so choose, to make sure that they're exactly identical. And in fact, that may be some of the regulations that come out in the future in various jurisdictions.
Any other questions? Well, I know I've got a few. So Asia, since we're here in Singapore,
yes.
What's the Asian market opportunity as a game developer, for real money gaming, and how does Betable play into that?
So we're here at Casual Connect in Singapore to meet with developers in Asia, because there's some of the best development talent in the world here. So we're really looking for Asian developers who develop global games. The actual gambling opportunity within Asia is somewhat limited. There are very few territories in Asia that actually allow online gambling legally, and it's not something that we pursue and are aggressive in terms of pursuing what they would call dark gray or black markets. We stay out of those. There are some jurisdictions such as the Philippines that we're working on unlocking that will be big attractive markets within Asia. But for right now, the opportunity is mainly in Western Europe and certain territories in the Americas.
Any other questions? Name and company in question, please.
Hi, I'm Ben from Cerebral Fix. I apologize if this question's going over old territory, but can I just be clear, your solution handles some of the compliance work in the territories?
It handles all of the compliance work.
All of the compliance work?
Yeah, so there is actually an API that's called Can I Gamble? So it actually checks the geolocation, goes through the age verification process during the registration flow, so you can actually tell whether or not someone's allowed to gamble in that territory. And you can actually choose to suppress the real money option in territories where it is not legal.
Right, fantastic, thank you.
Questions? Well, I guess probably the one that at least I would be thinking of here as someone in the room. How do you get in line? I'm assuming there's a lot of demand to get on the Betable platform. So how does one get started?
That would be to contact myself or David Sun, who manages our partnerships. There's an email that's pretty easy to remember, partnerships@betable.com. Just shoot us an email and we'll start a discussion and hopefully get you up and running very quickly.
Awesome. Thank you. We got one more question.
Sorry, just a quick question on
Sure.
fraud. Let's say, I mean, if the app is on the device and say that someone manages to, fudge some messages and send it over to the server. I'm not sure, I'm not familiar with how the platform works, but people trying to cheat on the device by making changes to whatever they have. How is that handled?
So it's a fairly complicated answer. In summary, to commit fraud, that would make sense for someone wanting to commit fraud. They'd actually have to hack Betable servers. So, yeah, it's a more complicated discussion to get into, which we can do in a one-on-one time, but it would require someone to actually hack our servers and not the front end of the developer.
There you go. If you have more questions, I'm sure Jonathan's got a few minutes outside. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.